Welcome back to Scotch Hour. This is Noah.
And this is Jesse.
All right, Jesse. Another week has gone by. Did you have a good Easter?
I did. How about yourself?
It was a pretty good Easter, pretty low key. Just me, my parents, my brother, stepsister. So it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. What's on the? How about you?
Yeah, no, very similar. Saw my sister Lily. Spent some time with my parents and my kiddos. Great. It was great.
Nice. Sounds like a good time.
Oh yeah, and always eat too much.
Yeah. No, that brings up another question. Why is it for Easter it's always ham?
I do not know.
Neither do I.
That's a really good question, but I can tell you when I saw some people buying some turkeys at the grocery store, I was like, "This ain't Thanksgiving. What are you thinking?"
Maybe they just want something different.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what would probably be a good switch up? Maybe is like lamb chops.
Oh, lamb would be fantastic. Prime rib. Hey.
Oh, prime rib.
Oh.
Or even a nice brisket.
Oh.
Get a good smoker and like cook it for like 13, 14, 16 hours,
there
whatever.
You go. Yeah, that's about right.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be really good. Okay.
Smoky.
So something other than ham.
Yes.
Okay. So what's on the docket for tonight?
All right. Well, one of my favorite distilleries, the Lagavulian Distillery, we are going to be enjoying the Lagavulin 8-year.
And where is it from?
Oh, Isla, Scotland.
Isla. From the island of Isla.
That's right, Isla.
Not Islay.
Not Islay.
Isla. Okay, got it.
Isla.
All right. So if you guys had watched a couple of our previous episodes, we did screw up on how to pronounce the island's name. So we now got it down. It's Isla.
Isla.
Isla. Island of Isla. All right. So tell us a little bit about this beauty.
Well, some of the current reviews say it's light yellow in color, has a very peaty nose, followed by honey and some also caramelized sugar, finishing with a strong peat and also a little hint of white pepper. So you and I know Lagavulin 16, one of our favorites.
That's the bomb. That's the bomb diggity.
Kind of like the Ardbeg 10.
Yeah, but like it does put the Ardbeg 10 to shame. So,
Right. Where I was going with the Ardbeg 10 is then comparing that to the Wee Beastie. We're hoping we don't have another situation here.
That Wee Beastie was a beast.
Yeah, it was a beast of a drum.
A lot of smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a beast. Anyways, have you had this one before?
I have enjoyed it, but it's been a minute because I've been so spoiled with the 16. I've enjoyed that and continue to enjoy that. So this will be kicking it back old school, so to speak. It's been a minute.
All right. So before you open it up, what do you remember from it, from your own thoughts, without like what the people say?
I do remember the peat. I remember a little smoke. I remember it had a bold nose, a bold start, and a pretty strong finish as well. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, so hint to everybody out there: anytime you talk about single malt Scotch, if you say like, yeah, it had nice smoke and nice peat, that'll go well with almost any of them. Just joking, but no, seriously. All right. It sounds like it's going to be a good bottle taste here. I probably had it, but if I did, I don't remember it. And I'm looking forward to trying it tonight.
All right. The Lagavulin 8, if all of my facts are correct, they actually brought this to the mass market, labeled as the Lagavulin 8 in 2016 to celebrate its bicentennial.
Ooh. Oh. So it should be a good blend then.
We're hoping so. As we
not blend, but a good single malt.
A good single malt. As we start to pop this open, why don't you talk about what else we're going to be talking about this hour?
Oh, I think we should let people be surprised by it. So
all right.
So go ahead and undress it, and it'll be pretty interesting. We did have a really good dinner tonight.
We did.
What was the name of that restaurant?
Real de Minas.
Gallo de Minas. So I had the I had a burrito. It was the what was it called?
Asada?
Yeah, the asada burrito. I already forgot what I had for dinner, but it actually it was actually a pretty good burrito. That was a good recommendation. So if you're in the Centennial area, here in the Denver metropolitan area, Denver metro area, definitely give that place a shot. They have good Mexican food. It had a pretty nice atmosphere. During the summertime, looks like they have like a rooftop patio. Really awesome place. So I would definitely recommend it. What did you get?
I had a combination platter, so I love their crispy chile relleno, their chicken chimichanga, ground beef burrito, and I, as always, ate too much. Definitely, always.
Oh, they had great salsa.
Yeah,
I love their salsa.
Was very good. Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. Anytime I hear chimichanga, it totally reminds me of Beavis and Butthead going diarrhea, cha cha cha, and then so you got the ice things right there, so you can go click click click, diarrhea, cha cha.
All right.
And honestly, guys, we haven't had anything to drink yet.
All right. The standard ice cube for Noah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And your pour.
God, I love that sound.
I do. Kind sir.
Thank you. You know, compared to like the Wee Beastie and some of the other ones, this has a much lighter color to it.
It does have a very light yellow color. Nice peat on the nose.
Yeah, very nice. Very. Did those notes say anything about citrus or anything?
A little bit of citrus, some vanilla. I can get the vanilla. Here's another scotch to go with creme brulee.
Creme brulee. You know. I wonder what would be good with scotch too. Maybe tiramisu. I'm a big fan of tiramisu.
Well, immediately on the tongue, I get the smoke, and again a little bit of honey, a little caramelized sugar.
Yep.
Definitely vanilla.
I think the smoke kind of hits me more like the mid palate. I think I get the honey more on the front and the smoke more on the mid.
Yep. Not disappointing yet.
Not at all. And you can also tell that compared to like the Wee Beastie, it is definitely aged longer.
Yes.
As I mentioned before with the Wee Beastie last week, you could tell it was really young because it had a really hot finish. This one does still have a slight bit of heat to it, but nothing like that Wee Beastie. That was just like all smoke and like heat.
Fire. It slapped.
Go Godzilla. Oh no, there goes Tokyo. Go Godzilla. Hint, hint. I think you mentioned we're going to talk about that movie.
I did, and I think we should just jump right in. So our one of our topics this evening is
right in.
The movie, the 2021 Godzilla versus Kong.
So what did you think of it?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. I enjoyed the fact that, it's a remake from the original 1962, but back then its title was King Kong versus Godzilla. Now it's Godzilla versus Kong. And I think the special effects were amazing. Everything they did, great action, enjoyable story. You don't expect a whole lot, as you mentioned, of
at dinner time.
a whole lot of superstar actors in a movie like this, but great adventure, great action, and I was all in. I was on the edge of my seat a few times, even with my neighbor sitting next to me in the seat, laughing her way as I jumped. So.
Oh, you went with your neighbor?
No. Went with my kiddos.
Oh, that neighbor. I thought you meant like your neighbor. I'm like,
No.
Really? I thought that was a guy.
No, Mila was sitting next to me on my right, and there were a couple times she's looking at me like, "Really, Dad? It's not that scary." It was. That's it's not really scary, but it's enjoyable.
All right. So I know you said one of the reasons why you wanted to see this movie is because your kiddos wanted to go see it. So what did they think?
They both enjoyed it. Brought up some interesting dialogue. One of the questions being afterwards, like, "Who do you prefer? You know, who's the one you're backing, Godzilla or Kong?" And some interesting thoughts behind that. I think Godzilla. Potentially a little bit less relatable than King Kong. King Kong more relatable initially, but the favorite at the end of all three of us was Godzilla.
Okay. So I'm guessing you're a bigger fan of these than probably what I am.
Oh, absolutely.
So was the King Kong movie that came out a couple of years ago, was called Island? Was that part of this?
Kong Skull Island, yes, it was absolutely part of this series.
Was there a Godzilla one?
There was Godzilla King of the Monsters, part of all the Monsterverse, if you will.
Okay.
And then another note is that this is the 36th movie in the Godzilla franchise. That's a lot of Godzillas, man.
Yeah, that is. That's quite a bit. So I noticed that the girl who's like very pro Godzilla in the movie, I think she was on Stranger Things there with Netflix.
She was. She
Okay.
is.
Was she also in the original Godzilla movie that came out maybe like a few years ago, the King of the Monsters? Because I'm assuming she had to have been because there's that huge connection there.
She is, and yeah, it was not something that I caught the first time around watching the first one, but rewatching it, yeah.
So, I did see Skull Island. I thought that was a decent King Kong movie.
Yeah.
The Godzilla one I never saw, so maybe I'm going to have to check that out.
Godzilla King of the Monsters is great.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay. So, being that we've both seen this movie, I saw it because I have HBO Max. So I saw it. So I didn't go to the theater.
What?
I didn't waste my money on it. No, actually,
no.
I normally I would go see a movie at a theater, but just having I was going to AMC theater when it first started opening back up, and they wanted you to wear your mask while you're watching the movie, and I just don't like that. So I opted to watch it at home. It was entertaining, but the part that I really enjoyed about it is how it started to bring in Hollow Earth theory. And as you guys know before, if you listen to our previous podcasts, we've been talking about how we will touch upon aliens and that type of stuff. So talking about this movie will probably be a good segue for us to start talking about some of those topics.
I mean, not just the hollow earth, but the hollow moon. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah, there is the hollow moon. So, anything else you want to say about the actual movie before we dive into Hollow Earth theory?
No,
and
just
stuff?
remember the trick. At the movie theaters right now, you have to wear your mask unless you're eating. So you just get the big bucket of popcorn and you constantly eat. So, yeah, a little trick of the trade, if you will. It was something that did not become a deterrent for me. Absolutely a great experience. The theaters have done a really nice job, actually. Spacing out the group, so when you buy your tickets, they leave seats open to make sure you get your 6 feet of distance in between. The theater felt comfortable, clean, safe, and then the food always delicious. It's been a year and a half since I've been to the theater with my kids, and the pretzel bites were amazing. The Diet Coke. And I told my son, I was like, whatever you just did there, whatever that ratio of ice to Diet Coke was from their machine, that was better than the McDonald's Diet Coke machine. Do that
who eats
again.
at McDonald's anymore, man? That place is terrible.
I go once or twice a year on a road trip. You just got to stop. You got to get, the sausage egg McMuffin or a couple breakfast burritos, the little crispy potato cakes, all good stuff. But no, just to wrap it up. Great experience with my kiddos, lots of fun, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I was glad to get back to a theater. The big screen, it makes a big difference.
Well, I will say it's kind of nice to go to the theater still, even with all that stuff. Because I did go see, what was it? Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom there.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, did we blink out? Uh-oh. Camera technical
For those of you
difficulties.
who watched the last episode, number 4, we had a few technical difficulties at one point in time. We may be facing another. Problem solved.
We think.
But the theater you were mentioning, you recently went and saw a movie not so long ago as well. And yeah, the big screen does make a big difference, especially in a movie of this magnitude, if you will. King Kong and Godzilla are not small guys, so really enjoyed that.
Oh, it got too hot.
Is it because this is throwing heat?
Shouldn't be. Yours is going just fine.
I could see this thing throwing a lot of heat and hitting your camera there.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, I saw Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom there.
All right.
And yeah, I got the, usually because I go by myself, I got like the child's thing.
Child's thing.
Yeah, because it comes with like a little bit of popcorn,
There
tiny
you go.
drink. And so anytime like somebody comes in, I act like I'm eating from my popcorn.
There you go. Put it in there. Well, so now, tangent. Hollow Earth, Hollow Moon. What do you have to say about the moon, Noah?
Well, before we talk about the hollow moon, let's talk about the hollow earth.
All right.
Okay, so with Kong versus Godzilla, right? Part of it was that spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen this movie, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alerts. Any case, they so Godzilla starts attacking places. They're trying to figure out why, and they don't want to release Kong from his holding facility
On
because
Skull Island.
because they don't want Godzilla to go attack Kong. But they figured if this one weird wacko scientist, it's always a weird wacko scientist, right?
It is.
But he, they believe that there's that the Earth is hollow, and that's where Kong and Godzilla actually come from. And by going back there, they can harness the power of the hollow Earth in order to defend or defeat any of these monsters that come out of the hollow Earth.
That is
Right?
correct. Yes.
So where, like you've seen the movie, so where is the entrance to Hollow Earth?
In the movie, the open entrance is off of Antarctica, which is a controversy of all its own.
Oh, sorry, I probably should put this in here. Probably need since we talked about it, but yeah. So Antarctica. Oh, that's the wrong one. Is that it? Is that it? One of these is it. Nope. It's got to be that. Yeah, it's this one. So Hollow Earth. Yeah. So there's a big theory that there's a big hole in the ground there in Antarctica, and that is the entrance to the Hollow Earth, which kind of brings up some interesting facts about this whole Antarctica and the Hollow Earth theory. What kind of brings up to my mind is actually how Admiral Byrd during World War II, they were going after the Nazis, and supposedly Nazis had a secret base there on Antarctica, and they had UFO type of ships or aircrafts. And at that point, when Admiral Byrd went in after the Nazis, they decimated his armada. So with that, a lot of people thought they went there to the Hollow Earth area to have a break-off society in Hollow Earth. There's also some theories that from that base, they used those UFOs and created a base on Mars. So
Anything is possible. We know that, but the truth is out there.
the truth is out there. So, what do you think about that? Do you believe that there is? Do you think the Earth is hollow?
You know, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying the science as I know it says it's not likely. As the Earth, as you get closer to a core, things become more dense. But I will admit, in Godzilla versus Kong, they did a nice job explaining the reversal, basically, of polarities that one might experience going to the center of the Earth and how that could actually create a situation where the Earth was hollow. You still had in essence, magnets opposing each other to create that sort of situation.
Like a reverse gravity.
Reverse gravity, exactly. Which also, though, when you get magnets reversing each other or polarities changing, that absolutely creates pressure and heat. So there are lots of possibilities there.
So I know they, in the movie, they had a special craft for them to travel there to Hollow Earth. And why don't we just move the one camera, see if we can't capture us both. Oh, I need to go a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we'll have to figure out this whole overheating thing here. All right, so oh yeah, so they had the vehicles that they created to go ahead and manage that flip flopping of the polarity. But I noticed later on near the end of the movie, they're sitting there walking around outside of the ship. So is it just like the initial change that you have to worry about that whole switch, or do you think, honestly, you would have to have some kind of special suits for the pressure and the flip-flop?
Again, science as I know it tells us you would have to have a special suits. It would be like going to a planet where the gravitational pull was far more significant than it is here on Earth. However, in the movie, they did do a fair job explaining just the way that once you go past that initial transfer of one gravity to the other, then
I'm just laughing here, people, because we are trying to learn our cameras, and apparently they both like to overheat. So as much as we would love to try to have camera working throughout our whole podcast, it's just not working.
yeah, right now it is not working.
Apparently we have to do a little bit more research to figure out how to work our cameras so that way they don't overheat on us. In any case, we do apologize about this technical difficulty, but we're just going to keep forging along.
Absolutely.
So science says you would need a suit. But it did
as I
explain
know it. But yeah, the movie did a fair job explaining again once you went through this polarity shift, and also with that the unbearable, if you will, without the special craft or a special suit, the unbearable force that it would be possible to go back to a normal atmosphere. It kind of explained as if you were going deep sea diving. So for every 33 feet you go down in the water, you increase the pressure on your body by 1 atmosphere of pressure. So this is the reason you don't have people or even submarines going down to the very bottom, the deepest part of the ocean. Because the pressure is just too great. We don't have bearing crafts that can get to that depth yet that won't just crumble under the pressure.
Okay, cool. So now we talked a little bit about Hollow Earth and Antarctica. And believe me, I want to talk about the moon and stuff. But since we're already on Antarctica, did you ever see any of those X-Files shows? Or did you ever watch X-Files?
Oh man, I love the X-Files.
Okay. That's what I thought. All right. The
Scully and Mulder, buddy.
Exactly. So if you're, I guess, like a '90s person, I think that's when it came out. It was like early '90s. And hopefully you probably know about X-Files. If not, I'd say even if you're a kid and you're listening to us, like if you're under probably 30 or under, it's on Hulu. I definitely suggest watching the X-Files, especially if you like sci-fi type of stuff, or aliens or UFOs, or I loved how they used to do like the Monster of the Month episode.
Yep.
So, any case, sidetracked there, but watching X-Files, did you see, like, obviously you've seen it, the show, but what do you think of those episodes where they brought in like Antarctica and the aliens and stuff like that?
You know, it's interesting because I do think that there still is possibly something under that massively deep ice cap. If you've enjoyed any of the Alien versus Predator movies, they give you one possible example of a pyramid, in essence, where extraterrestrials have visited.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. Do you ever watch that show, Ancient Aliens?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And in that show, does it not mention stuff about the moon?
Oh, all the time.
So let's get to your moon.
Okay. Well, maybe not my moon, but the moon. Earth's moon. Let's call it Earth's moon. One of my most favorite historical moments with the moon is with the Apollo 12 mission on November 19th, 1969, when they were taking off the moon and they released their stage of the rocket that, as they were leaving the moon's atmosphere, then dropped at a final rate of 6,048 kilometers an hour to hit the moon.
Okay, I don't know kilometers per hour. What is that in miles?
It's 1.7. So, you got to do the math.
Come on, man. We're Americans. We don't do anything by kilometers.
You could truly argue that the metric scale is the way to go.
Although, like, our alcohol bottles are all a metric.
There you go. It's going to be right around 3,557 miles per hour.
Okay.
This last stage of the rocket goes back down, crashes, hits the moon, leaves a 9-meter, so we're going to make that easy for you, 27-foot wide crater. But the impressive part is that...
Like this?
Yeah, that's the one. Leaves this giant crater. But what's more impressive is the noise the moon made when that happened. And
what did it sound like?
Some people say a bell, others say a gong, but it resonated for over 55 minutes. And from the initial impact to the end, it didn't just die down the whole time. For a while, it actually built up, suggesting lots of possibilities, one being that the moon is hollow.
Okay, so there's a great book out there called, I forget who it's by. I know I've seen it on Ancient Aliens, but it has to do with the hollow moon. And there is a couple of guys who, let's see, there's a guy by the name of David Wilcock.
Okay.
Do you know who he is?
I do not.
So he talks a lot about the hollow moon. And how the moon is actually an alien space station for them to view us. So it's like an observatory, which is kind of an interesting thing because when you start thinking about it, like we only see one side of the moon.
Very true.
So it makes you wonder if the Earth rotates. Right? And most every other planet rotates. Why doesn't the moon really rotate?
That's a good question. Why the satellite doesn't rotate while it's going through our atmosphere.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird scenario, and I just don't get it. But also along with David Wilcock, there is another person by the name of Laura Eisenhower. Have you heard of her?
I'm sure I've heard of her. Doesn't ring a bell.
So this is it doesn't ring a bell. So this is Laura Eisenhower right here.
All right.
This is her website, Cosmic Gaia. So that's her. Her grandfather was Dwight D. Eisenhower.
All right.
And she apparently was recruited to be a part of the Mars station. So apparently there's a station on Mars that both David Wilcock talks about, Laura Eisenhower talks about, and they talk about how on the moon there's actually, like I said, like a base, and there's like an alliance of aliens that are on this base, and there's good aliens and bad aliens.
All right.
And the good aliens are called the Alliance. The bad aliens are kind of led by the Greys, so the Gray aliens, and also like the reptilians.
Okay.
And so apparently, like the Nazis made a deal with the reptilians, and that's how they got the UFO. I guess blueprints on how to make a UFO type ships, and how they did that Bell experiment out in the middle of the forest.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. I do some crazy stuff there.
That is, but it's also possible.
It's also possible, right? So, and do you know like what supposedly happened with aliens and Dwight D. Eisenhower when he was president?
Tell me, what happened between Eisenhower and the aliens?
Funny you should ask, but that's not it. Where did it go? Apparently, he actually wrote or signed a treaty with the aliens. I must have deleted it out of here. But in any case, there was a treaty that he did with the Alliance. I think it was the Alliance. It could have been with the Reptilians. I'm not really sure. But that happened roughly the same time, I think, as his warning to the military-industrial complex, talking about how everyone has to be aware of that. So, I don't know. Very interesting. I think if you are into aliens and stuff, definitely I would say go do some research about Dwight D. Eisenhower and the treaty with aliens.
All right. Yeah. I'm still just waiting to see some great pictures of the backside of the moon, or as is often called the dark side of the moon, you know. Give me some photo evidence that there's nothing up there, because everything else that has been given to us shows there's quite the possibility.
Yeah. There is definitely a huge possibility. I'm going to see if I can pull that up here. So anything else you want to say about the moon?
I think it's great that it's been a focus in so many movies through decades and decades of movies, including Transformers. To kind of really speak to your point about, is there a station on the other side? Is there a stopping point? There are people out there who kind of, if you will, think of it as a flat earth theory almost, where it's only half of a dome and the backside is flat. I don't know so much that I believe in that, but it is very interesting and peculiar just how perfectly placed it was to keep our earth going the way it does. And what I mean by that is the world as we know it, Earth as we know it, does not work without the moon where it is. We don't have a high tide, we don't have a low tide, which impacts winds and the atmosphere and everything.
And emotions.
And emotions. Very true. But it impacts everything on this planet, almost like it was perfectly placed by another set of beings to really foster a perfect environment for us.
Do you think it's really to foster a perfect environment? Some people believe that if aliens did put it there, that maybe that's what causes so much strife in humans because of the cycle. It creates tensions or heightened levels of emotions. And so that's why we have those ebbs and flows. Whereas I think that if there was no moon, because it's not natural, then there would probably be better cycles where people could sleep better and less emotional twists and turns.
I don't know that I would agree with that at all. I actually disagree with that because, again, I think that when you really just look at the fact of how important the tides are for our planet, the high tide, the low tide, the impact, the gravitational pull from the moon has the impact that creates those.
But that's all we know. Who's to say it's not better the other way around?
Well, if everything was flat, then maybe we would all just be grays again. Maybe that's the experiment, is that we are given the opportunity to have emotions, whereas another set of beings without a moon, without the tides, without the highs and the lows, doesn't get that. They are just machines, calculators, with no joy or dread in life.
Could be. I don't know. I mean, just it seems like if there was a way to make people, I don't want to say less emotional, but not. If there's a way to make them,
I think it's called Prozac.
yeah, but see that makes them into like zombies.
So would that not be what you become without a high and a low?
Not necessarily. Maybe it might bring better balance to humans and animals alike. In any case, that's the treaty right there, the 1954 treaty.
Aliens at Hollow Man Air Force Base.
Yes. Have you ever heard about that?
I have not.
Oh, that's a rabbit hole.
All right, I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it some other time. Maybe when we start talking more about Roswell and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, I thought this was going to go much longer. I think the cameras threw us off.
Cameras threw us way off.
We're out of sync. Damn moon.
Right?
Is it a full moon
no,
tonight?
not even close. Can't blame the moon for this one.
So, we did talk about this at, might as well bring this up since I'm not sure what else to talk about with the moon and other stuff. Do you have anything else that you want to mention about the moon? Or
not at this time. I'm going to leave that line of questioning and answers open, though, for
another time?
A rebuttal.
A rebuttal? Okay. So we'll put that one back up on the shelf. I did like how Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong, I don't know how it goes, but in any case, I love how they brought in the Hollow Earth stuff. Because there's also theories about like the ant people, like down in, I think it's about New Mexico, where the Indians talk about how like during the Ice Age or whatever, ant people came out of the ground and they saved them and stuff. Did you ever see that on Ancient Aliens?
I did not see the ant people on Ancient Aliens.
Oh man, you gotta see that episode.
All right.
It's ancient. I don't remember. I think it's probably like first or second season of Ancient Aliens.
All right.
But in any case, at dinner time, we were talking about cryptocurrencies. That's something that's kind of big going on right now. We are in the middle of what's called, or at least the start of what appears to be altcoin season.
All right.
So I know I told you a little bit about some altcoins. So what's your, since I know you haven't really dived into cryptocurrency, so you're kind of a novice or don't know much about it, as far as I understand.
Very much so.
Why don't you kind of give the people a lowdown about what you know about crypto?
Cryptocurrencies is layman, as far as the little bit I think I know, if you will, is another mode of currency that could potentially become the mode of currency. That's what everyone's betting on, right? Is that it can be used in a different way. What's interesting is that it's much like the stock market as well, because when they create their cryptocurrencies, they have X amount of coins. And you're buying these coins, and you may get coin for a penny that's worth, and no different than stocks, worth $30,000 years from now, 6 months from now. The stock market's going up, up, up. I can't tell that it's a struggling economy myself right now, with the way the stock market continues to climb, and so many other factors, the jobs that keep being created, lots of things going well. But with the cryptocurrencies, if things keep going well, the bet is the risk, the gamble, if you will, that someday that's going to be a very viable use of currency that you can use to buy, sell, trade. And at the current moment, as I look at it, it is just to potentially make profits. My fear, as someone who believed in the gold standard and appreciated the fact that I knew what a dollar was worth back then, I am very disinclined to jump into those waters.
Okay. So you said you're very much into the gold standard, and you knew how much your dollar was.
Yes.
So were you ever alive when we were on the gold standard?
Oh, heck no.
So therefore, you never knew what the value of your dollar really was to begin with.
No, I did not. The closest thing I came to it was James Bond as the villains trying to break in to steal or actually irradiate all of the gold to make it possible for us to touch.
So, as we know, for anyone who is probably born after Nixon was president, we've all pretty much known fiat currency. And with fiat currency, that's basically a perception of what something's value really is. Because if we were to really go back and look at our Constitution, the founding fathers were very smart in saying that our currency needed to be tied to a commodity, which is why we had the gold standard, and later on we added silver to it. But somewhere along the way, the bankers, which we were also warned about by our founding fathers, decided to move over from a gold standard, and the governments were also for this because with a gold standard, the United States government could not go into wars because they had a very limited amount of money that they could work with. So by moving over to a fiat system, which they started that process during FDR's, well, actually they started the fiat system back when Woodrow Wilson was president. That's when it first started. Kind of kicked up into a higher gear with FDR, but it took all the way up to Nixon before we actually left the gold standard completely. But by moving over to the fiat system, this allows governments to basically print money, and this allows them to go to war and do whatever they want without being controlled or hindered by a commodity-based currency. By doing this, this allows for hyperinflation and devaluation of the people's money. And so the first one that came out, which some people speculate was actually created by the banks anyways, which is Bitcoin. The reason why it was created was because it had a finite amount of Bitcoin and it would not be able to be manipulated supposedly by the banks or governments. So you cannot create any more Bitcoin or whatever. And so that's where that came about. Now, when we look at the US dollar, right, or any kind of currency right now, we have everything's worked off of what is called the SWIFT system. Okay. So there's and this is basically like if you had like dollar bills and you're transferring money to, let's say, Italy. Well, you have to transfer that money previously from dollars into liras.
Correct.
But I guess now it's the euros, right?
Yes.
So what it has to do is it has to go through some clearinghouses first. Those clearinghouses use what's called SWIFT banking system. And so basically it takes your money, goes through customs, if you will, for like a layman's term, and then gets processed. And it can take a long time. And sometimes that money can get held up.
Not so swift.
Not so swift. But the system's called SWIFT. And there's a joke that says that if you're going to move money from, let's say, the United States down to Australia, that would be faster to pack the money up in a suitcase and fly from the U.S. to Australia, and you'll get there faster with your money than you would using bank transfer. So part of this, when we start looking at cryptocurrencies, is that we now have alternative coins from Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the first one to come out. A lot of people say that's like the digital gold.
Right.
But really, it uses kind of an antiquated system in order to, which I believe is called proof of work, to kind of verify when things are transferred. It's very slow and very expensive, and it takes up a lot of energy with Bitcoin mining. So a big problem with Bitcoin, if you will, is that most of the miners are located in China, which could be overtaken by the Chinese government. And on top of that, A lot of those miners are in a valley where I think it's called the Three Dam River or something like that, and that's about ready to crumble and it'll wipe out most of the miners. So to kind of solve this problem, there's a couple of cryptocurrencies that are currently out. They're alternative coins. One's called Stellar. Another is called XRP, and they are looking at solving the cross-border I forget, it was cross-border something or other, but basically replacing Swift. And it costs a very like a fraction of what it would to transfer money from one place to another using Swift, and it does it like in 3 seconds or less. And then on top of all that, you now have like the IMF starting to say that because of COVID and stuff, currency, paper dollars and coins, is a way to transfer bacteria or viruses and stuff. So they want to move everything over to a digital currency, and you're starting to see other countries wanting to, with their central banks, wanting to develop digital currencies, which is called the CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. There's already a couple of them that are out. In the Bahamas, there's the sand dollar digital currency. China has come out with theirs. So it is the next wave of the future. I do see why there would be some kind of apprehension to it. But it just seems with the way the central banks are talking and the way the IMF is talking, that is the way to go.
Well, again, my struggle is it's, whether it's not gold backed or commodity backed, I still like the thought, which doesn't exist right now, but back in the day, dollar bill called a silver certificate because you could turn that in and get your silver. That was a big deal to me, an actual value.
Kennedy was killed
because he believed in aliens.
No, Kennedy wanted to bring back the gold standard.
I know he did.
And who was against bringing back the gold standard?
Everyone with power.
Bankers. I'm not saying that he was murdered because of that, but maybe there might be something to it.
There is always that possibility, but really that piece is my apprehension of any of these cryptocurrencies is just that is it's non-tangible to me, and I have a hard time believing in something that's non-tangible. You don't buy a house currently in Colorado. What is it? $500,000 is your standard single-family house.
Are you going to carry around that much gold? Are you going to store that much gold anyways? If we went back to the gold standard,
great big safe, yeah.
It's not practical to carry around gold or silver. I mean, I agree with you. I think precious metals is probably the better way to go, but it's not practical.
Right. But there was something backing it. There was substance. It wasn't just an illusion. It wasn't something that could be wiped out with an electromagnetic pulse, for example.
I get that. But there are some cryptocurrencies that are supposedly going to be backed by gold when they do the full reset.
That would be interesting to see. That would be
XRP
worthy of a potential investment there.
Yeah, so one of these so-called currencies that supposedly that may get backed by gold is XRP. There is another alternative coin out there. I haven't done too much research. I don't remember the name of it, but apparently it works with a company that mines gold. So as they mine more gold, your shares of coins increase in value. So
sounds like a stock.
Sounds like a stock, yeah. But I would say right now when you start looking at some of these alternative coins, it may be, I'm not saying like to bet the whole farm on it, but it may be worthwhile to jump in on it because you have to have a little bit of foresight about what's around the corner. Because if you don't, you're going to be left behind in the dust.
That is something that is also true, but I'm just going to remember and remind everyone of GameStop.
So So talking about at dinner time, right? Just kind of go back and revisit what we were talking about there at dinner. There was one crypto coin, which is it's called ONE. And when I first saw it about a year ago, it was a half a penny. And today, when we were looking at it at dinner time, it was at 15 and a half cents. And just think about this, right? Like if I would have, I don't remember how much I had originally in there, but it was somewhere between $600 and $1,000 I had and tied up in one. But we'll just say it was $500. Okay, so going from a half penny to a penny, that would get me to 1,000. That means for the next 14 pennies, that would have made an additional $14,000 off that one coin. And that's kind of incredible. And like that's only a half a penny, right? I mean, I probably could have way more than that, but I didn't. I actually got rid of that coin before it even increased because it sat there like at a half a penny for like, I don't know, like 7 months.
Slow grow.
It was it's slow grow. It didn't do much of anything. But I've had some other ones where XRP I purchased into, and I found like when I first discovered XRP, it was like right around 20 cents a coin. And as of tonight, it was roughly, I think at dinner time, it was 88 cents.
88 cents.
So, there's like a nice growth there. I have another one that I bought at a penny, and now it's at 10 cents. Right now with cryptocurrencies, you do have to be very careful, like you're talking about, because it's still very much a speculative market. It's not a very mature market yet, but if you look at traditional markets versus the cryptocurrency market, you're going to find much greater gains right now while it's still a young market and still developing.
All right. Time to change the subject.
Okay.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer reading a book, a paperback book, a hardback book, or do you prefer reading on a digital source, a laptop, a note? How do you prefer to read?
It depends. If I'm reading something where I need to take notes and highlight stuff, I prefer a physical book. If it's something that's just like pure entertainment, then I don't mind using a digital format.
I absolutely prefer paper over a screen for anything I'm reading. I still enjoy magazines. I know that's going to sound crazy, but I still enjoy magazines. Absolutely enjoy books. I like being able to kick back and actually hold it, flip the pages, smell the paper. More senses involved for that with me. Definitely enjoy reading an actual book.
There's nothing wrong with a physical book. I think my issue with physical books, and this would probably be easily solved if I didn't move around so much. When you kind of bounce around from place to place to place to place to place, hauling around tons of books sucks.
Yeah, they're not light.
They're not light. I think the last time I moved in Utah, I think I had something like 5 or 6 boxes of books, and like they're still in boxes. So it's kind of like I love having preferably I love having a hardback book.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's my number one choice. So if I had a library or something, if I owned a house where I think because I'm afraid to put down roots, that's the reason why I don't have a house and I keep moving around all the time. But if I owned a house and had a library, yeah, I'd prefer having hardback books, and I wouldn't mind like reading out of a book. But being that I do move around a lot, it's just more convenient to have a digital format. So that way I can have my full library on a digital format with me.
All right. Well, now it's time to revisit your proper challenge. Remember your proper challenge? Meet and greet somebody new?
Yes, meet and greet somebody new.
How'd you do with that?
I did well. I met a guy named Brad.
Okay.
At first, we started off really rocky. I didn't really meet him very well, very nicely, but I did do it today.
Nice.
And I gave him an 18-pack of beer, so he has to like me.
There you go.
It's the maintenance guy. Didn't know the maintenance guy. In fact, the reason why I started off kind of rough is I was doing a presentation over the internet, and he came to fix the AC. I was pounding on the door, and I kind of blew up on him, so and slammed the door on him. So after I was done with my presentation, I went down to the maintenance office and I apologized to the guy. I said, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I normally don't act that way. He just caught me at a really bad time." And so we just chatted it up a little bit. I befriended him and to thank him for coming back up to my condo to fix the AC. I said, "Here, one of my buddies, he works at Coors. He gives me some cases of beer every once in a while, and I still have a couple of cases here, so I'm going to go ahead and take an 18 pack or a 12 pack or whatever." So he did, and so I think not only did we got off to a rocky start, I made up for it. We started chit chatting, got to know him a little bit, and then I gave him some beer to try to help smooth things over.
All right. Well, you're going to know how that works if you go back and everything's still in its right place. He's got the key. My story is not nearly as exciting. Normally, when I go to a liquor store, it's in and out, and somebody will come over and they'll be like, "Hey, can I help you find anything?" Or, are you looking for any help? And I'm usually like, "No, I know what I like. I like what I like. I know what I want. I'm here for what I want. I don't want you." And I move on.
I don't want you.
This time, met a gentleman named Sam, and as opposed to just turning him away, when he asked me, as I was looking at scotches, as a matter of fact, did I want any help? And I was just like, "Let me ask you, what do you think? Do you have a favorite scotch?" And he spoke quickly about a few different scotches. But I was like, "Okay, so what's your drink of choice?" Because the way he was talking, there was no passion, there was no excitement. And he's like, I love American whiskeys. And I was just like, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because that's how I grew up. My dad liked them, and that's how I got introduced to them. And I like the flavors of American whiskeys." And I'm like, well, that's very interesting to me, because for a lot of them, I am not a fan. I much prefer a scotch or even a cognac over an American whiskey. A great bourbon, perhaps. Have had some phenomenal bourbons, but not just American whiskeys. But then the question came around. He's like, "Well, why do you like scotch?" And I was just like, because my dad drank scotch. But also for me, there's part of this excitement about a destination, about a travel, about a possibility of going to Scotland, of going to the island of Isla and trying some Lagavulin.
Not Islay?
Not Islay. The Isle of Isla. But, really trying that and knowing that Scotland has this much longer heritage, history, it just is really a big deal to me. So it's something to think about, why we drink what we drink. But for me, I do actually absolutely love the variations in all of the different scotches, the different things I get to try and share with a great friend.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed drinking a great scotch with you. I don't think my dad drank scotch. That's not how I got into scotch. So unlike both you and Sam, that's not why I got into scotch.
All right.
I would say for me, it had to do because I worked at a liquor store.
All right.
And I became a big fan of wines.
All right.
And I love how oak barrels reacts with wine. And when I started tasting single malt scotches, I see a lot of the same similarities where how oak can give single malt scotches character. And some of the same characteristics can be found in both. And so I think that's where my like for scotch came in. Also, my like for scotch came in with my fraternity. Right. When I was in the fraternity, which we talked about, I think in episode 1, we used to have poetry night.
Okay.
So we would smoke cigars and drink scotch and then do some poetry.
Nice.
So, not all of us are total meatheads when we do when we're in the fraternity. We do try to do some cultural type stuff too. So,
Excellent. Excellent. Well, it's my turn to give the proper challenge.
I thought it was a smarter challenge.
Oh, the smarter challenge, the proper
challenge.
challenge. I thought, the smarter challenge. And for this, we talked about it last week. It's going to be to visit Romeo and Juliet.
What's with you and all the Shakespeare reading, man? Seriously.
No, it's watching the show. It's watching the show. This one isn't reading. It's watching the Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay, at least I can watch a movie, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, you can make me read another book.
No. This one's
ain't going to do it.
Oh, we figured out the fail safe. No, watching Leonardo DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet, and bringing in 3 fun facts, 3 things that really most stand out to you. This can be anything from art to fashion to the way it was filmed, where it was filmed, to the way they interact. To
was it done in Venice Beach?
I believe so. But all of those pieces, really looking into what is it that are 3 fun facts for you that really draw, because we talked about we both have and enjoy that movie. And so what are some of the things that do that? And so I will do the same.
Okay, I can watch the movie.
All right.
If you can tell me to read the book, I'm like, I don't know. Family show.
I said good luck to this.
All right, so that does conclude our hour with all of our technical difficulties with our cameras. I'm not even sure if the one that we have going is recording, but if it is, great. We'll have to figure this out. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I have a bum battery or something.
We'll figure it out. I think it's this fancy Alienware computer throwing so much heat it overheated your camera.
It could be. It could be it could be our computer here. So, how do you want to finish off? What do you want to say to the peeps?
Please continue to enjoy our show. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think. Suggest some good scotches. Tell us why you drink scotch. That would be a fun one if we get.
Oh yeah,
some
definitely put that in the comments. Why you drink scotch?
Why you drink scotch? Is it how you were raised? Is it something you saw? Is it the flavor? Is it a mix of many things? For me, there is something very familiar, if you will, about family and scotch. It really makes me think of great friends, tight bonds, solid foundations.
Cool. Well, the last thing I'm going to end on here is please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. I do apologize. We wanted to make sure that we had camera footage for this whole episode. Unfortunately, we're still learning all of our equipment. So unfortunately, if you had to bear through some of the still screenshots, I apologize. Hopefully we'll get this all figured out on our next podcast. And thank you for listening. We totally appreciate your support. And hopefully you have a wonderful weekend. Please leave a comment in whatever format you listen to us in, because we are now on YouTube, Rumble, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Spotify. So please leave us a comment on any one of those formats. And if you do leave whatever your favorite scotch is, we'll definitely try that scotch and patch you in and have you be a part of our tasting. I guess the 10 minutes of tasting notes. Is that what we call it? Tasting notes?
That's it.
Okay. So with that, I wish you guys all a wonderful evening, and thank you for listening to Scotch Hour.